Poop. Honk, honk, Sky Kids, and welcome. Can you guys hear me okay? Does everybody hear me okay? Because, on occasion, my audio doesn't work really well. How's everybody feeling? Good audio? Good voicing? Good music volumes? Because here's the thing, we really want this to be super chill. Uh, Before we get chill though, honk, Sky Kids, and I'm very happy to be here with you guys. Welcome TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. Instagram didn't work. We're gonna have to leave Instagram for next time, but it should be working next time. So if you guys are on Instagram and would like to stream, look forward for the next few streams. It should be fun if I can get it to work. But that's shenanigans, details. At the end, we are here together, and we're here to have a wonderful time. Talk to me, chat. How are you guys doing? Are you guys excited for this? I am super stoked. It's been a while since we've had a reading time, and I have my best Sky friend joining me today. I did say on the announcement, but any guesses who's gonna be here with me today? It's somebody who I love dearly. Love this person joining. The sweetest person alive. It's like we are drowning in a bunch of honey. That's how sweet she is. Yes, Maelstrom, Skyla's gonna be here with us. In fact, before Skyla joins, why don't we show Skyla some love? Can you guys put some love in the chat for Skyla? Somebody on TikTok says, you love everyone. I do love everyone. But what's wrong with that? The more, the merrier. The more love we can give, I guess, that makes... I'm not gonna say everyone, but that makes me happier the more people I love. So, and I love you too. Number 9, I think that's your nickname. I love you too. Feel loved. What else, guys? I'm sorry, I'm a little lost. It's a great day here where I live, and getting adapted. I guess this is the time where we talk about our social media. So follow us everywhere. We are everywhere. Go check us out everywhere, so we can be together more often. Be sure to join our Sky Court, because that's the best place to be. You get to hang out with people who are similar to you, right? And what's better than that? And sometimes people say that it's really difficult to make friends, right? So that's a really good step if you are a Sky Court, because you guys already are passionate about something. And that's something being Sky, and you guys can befriend each other, and you guys can meet and hang out and go on beautiful adventures together. So that's the topic. And before we call on Skyla, is anybody celebrating their birthdays today, you guys? And guys, that's because I want to celebrate. What a wonderful way to celebrate a birthday, right? Like, it's celebrating a birthday by reading The Little Prince. Are you serious? That's all I ever wanted. That's all I have ever wanted. TikTok, are you guys celebrating your birthdays? Yo, Leo on TikTok, I just got targeted by my fake friends and they put the Creole on me. Well, if you think about it, the Creole just wanted a hug. Maybe with too much intensity, but a hug's a hug. Matcha, hi Tio. Hello, Matcha on TikTok. Meanwhile, is Sky similar to Journey? Is what people would call a spiritual sequel, if you will, right? Journey does beautiful things that Sky doesn't. Sky does beautiful things that Journey doesn't. So it's two sides of the same coin, if you will, and both are as beautiful and as artistic. Don't you guys think, chat? Let me know. Try to answer this friend. Journey and Sky are pretty similar. Danielle Bell Muffin. I just had my birthday on Sunday. Well, Happy birthday! I'm very, very happy to celebrate your birthday with you. And if it's not today or last Sunday or sometime within the next week, you are loved. And I just want you to be sure that your life is precious, your life is valuable, and we are forever. I don't even know how to say that in Portuguese. I only read the book in English. I only read the book in Portuguese. So I was about to quote the book, but hold me accountable. When I read that in the book, I'm going to say, oh, you guys, remember the intro of the stream? That's what I meant to say. Okay? But I suppose for that, you're going to have to stick with us until the very, very end of this thing. Of this thing we call a stream. Are you guys ready for Skyla? Chat, let me know if you guys are ready for Skyla and be ready to melt in sweetness. Skyla is a great reader, by the way. I'll bet you that Skyla is the kind of kid that would bring their reading homeworks home and just, practice to their parents. I did that a lot until I learned that my dad didn't really care. He would just sign my homework anyways. So I'm like, hey, Dad, instead of my mom. My mom would definitely want to hear me recite the homework. Good IAPs are good, Enzo. Good IAPs are good. Good cosmetics are good. Xia, Shia, sadly my birthday is on August. Don't you worry. Come hang out with us in August and you will definitely get your happy birthday as well. Oh, Chocobo! You have read the book before? It's wonderful. It really is wonderful. All right. Chat, please help me welcome this creature of light, this creature of sweetness that Skyla is, as I welcome them to our stream just after this transition. Skyla? Skyla? Skyla's not here. It's just me. Oh no. Oh, there she is. Okay, Skyla's here. Wait, is that what? Is this a Tio issue? It is a Tio issue. Hold on, you guys. And Skylar, let me see that you can. Yeah. Hi, Skylar. Guess what? Nobody can see you right now, but I will adjust that. Oh. Hello, Skylar.
There you are. I couldn't hear you, so I was
because I was on mute. I was on. Oh, you see a hand. We see a hand, you guys.
Wait.
All right. Let me. No, I got you. I will just adjust that real quick. OBS played a prank on me. Is this Days of Mischief, you guys?
It was me. I came to play pranks, Sam. The prank is we're not reading today. We're pranking.
Oh, I fell for it. Wait, TikTok. I'm gonna get you guys now. Just wait.
I'm now seeing my head bobbing in and out of the stream, which is so embarrassing.
No, it's not embarrassing. You look great. You look better than me. I'm a round crab.
I wish I was a crab, Tio.
Oh, we can be crabby together because the stream didn't work right away. How about that?
Why not? Why not?
There you go. You guys, now you are able to see Skyla. How are you, Skyla? Thank you for being patient.
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
It's been a while.
I know. It's been too long. I've been waiting for another.
Too long. Not gonna lie, guys. Like, it's been more than once that Skyla is like, hey, is there anything for us to read? I kind of want to go back and hang out with chat. And I'm like, Skyla, hold on. We need to get it right. And of course, she did. I did not. But The Little Prince, Skyla. How much do you know of The Little Prince?
Familiar with the story, recognizable. Like I recognize The Little Prince, but I'd never read the book, So this will be a first.
Wow, it's fantastic. It's one of those literature that I read at several different stages of life, and each time they spoke to me different. I would love to get your feedback out of this.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's obviously a story that's touched so many people and has so much significance. So I'm excited.
Chat, have you guys read the Little Prince? Let us know. First time reading, there will be tears. Yes, there may be tears, Skyla. So please don't hold back. Just
I
let
should
them
have brought
drip.
water, but not tissues. And I'm tear jerky. I'm very it's a known thing in my friend group, my family. I cry at anything emotional. I'm crying. If there's a sad commercial, if there's
a
cute puppy.
commercial.
Yeah, like if it's a good one, I'll cry.
Okay, so what was the last movie that you cried on?
The last movie I watched Inside Out 2 and I cried the whole time. I was a puddle.
You are so cute. I wear these glasses to cover my tears, you guys. That's why. I'm not even nearsighted or anything. Oh, thank you, A. A says, I love Tio. He makes me giggle so much. Thank you. It's it's a learned skill. I have several uncles, and I had to bear with tons of really bad jokes, and now I share the knowledge with you guys. I'm glad that sometimes it lands.
Always.
Steal Your Zelda. I read The Little Prince after doing the season last year, and I cried. Okay, hey, Skyla, that it may be the case. It may very well be the case. But what are you expecting? Are you expecting anything?
What am I expecting?
Because it's rough, right? Like when you come to a piece of media that people have already made so many references of how good it is, of how much
Yes.
they cried. You come in with, quite a lot of feedback. How do you treat media like that? Like, do you just give yourself to that literature or to that movie, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I try to put myself in like the creator's shoes, so not think about what anyone else interpreted it as, but think about what message I'm the creator of whatever media it is, in this case a book, is trying to say, and see it through that lens. So as I'm reading, I'll probably be thinking, what's the message we're trying to get here, and how am I interpreting that? It's hard to do though.
All right, are you ready
I think so.
to enter a world of innocence,
As ready as I'll ever be.
friendship, and beauty? Chat, are you ready? YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, are you guys ready? All right, so let's jump right into it.
Yay. Wait, Tio, how are we doing? Are we doing one page on, one page off?
Oh, good question. How are we doing this? Chat, let me know. Should we do a paragraph at a time? Should we do a page at a time? Some of these pages are really short, so I guess we can discuss. Let's do a page per person, and if it's very, very short, like sentence long or something, then we can move to the next page. How about that?
That sounds like a plan.
That sounds like a beautiful plan to me as well. Let me just move here to my book, The Little Prince. And next, there's going to be like a translator's note or something. Not that I don't appreciate the translation, I really do. But let's get to the meat of this. The Little Prince. I will kick us off, Skyla.
Yeah.
Once when I was 6, I saw a magnificent picture in a book about the jungle called True Stories. It showed a boa constrictor swallowing a wild beast. Here's a copy of the picture. In the book, it said boa constrictors swallow their prey whole without chewing. Afterward, they are no longer able to move and they sleep during the 6 months of their digestion. Jesus, 6 months? Whew. It feels like me after Brazilian barbecue. Just do not bother me. In fact, I look just like that boa in the bottom picture. That's me laying with my tummy up. I showed the grown-ups my masterpiece, and I asked them if my drawing scared them.
They answered, "Why be scared of a hat?" My drawing was not a picture of a hat. It was a picture of a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. Then I drew the inside of the boa constrictor so the grown-ups could understand. They always need explanations. My drawing number 2 looked like this. The grown-ups advised me to put away my drawing of boa constrictors, outside or inside, and apply myself instead to geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar. That is why I abandoned at the age of 6 a magnificent career as an artist. I had been
Pause,
discouraged.
pause, pause. How many beautiful artistic careers end because of that, you know? That breaks my heart.
It's
Uh
so true.
I'm very happy that you and I both, Skyla, we are able to work creatively because it's a blessing. Like to, and if you are in chat a kid that values expressing yourself differently versus, you know, the statistical and the coherence of all of the other sciences, it's okay. You'll be fine. I
Yeah.
apologize for the interruption, but I felt like
No,
it was something to be
a
shared.
great a great point to call out. There's something out there for everybody to do that involves their passion. So I think it's important to encourage that, especially at a young age, 6 years old.
Right? Yeah.
That's
You should
unbelievable.
only be an artist at 6.
Exactly. The best artist.
Right?
Okay. I had been discouraged by the failure of my drawing number 1 and my drawing number 2. Grown-ups never understand anything by themselves, and it is exhausting for children to have to provide explanation over and over again. So then I had to choose another career, and I learned to pilot airplanes. That is a big pivot, but I love it.
I know.
I've flown almost everywhere in the world, and as a matter of fact, geography has been a big help to me. I could tell China from Arizona at first glance, which is very useful if you get lost during the night. So I have had, in the course of my life, lots of encounters with lots of serious people. I have spent lots.
Of time with grown-ups. I have seen them at close range, which hasn't much improved my opinion of them. Whenever I encountered a grown-up who seemed to me at all enlightened, I would experiment on him with my drawing number 1, which I have always kept. I wanted to see if he really understood anything, but he would always answer, "That's a hat." Then I wouldn't talk about boa constrictors or jungles or stars. I would put myself on his level and talk about bridge and golf and politics and neckties. And my grown-ups was glad to know such a and my grown-ups was glad to know such a reasonable person. So I lived all alone without anyone I could really talk to until I had to make a crash landing in the Sahara Desert 6 years ago. Something in my plane's engine had broken, and since I had neither a mechanic nor passengers in the plane with me, I was preparing to undertake the difficult repair job by myself. For me, it was a matter of life or death. I had only enough drinking water for 8 days. The first night, then, I went to sleep on the sand, 1,000 miles from any inhabited country. I was more isolated than a man shipwrecked on a raft in the middle of the ocean. Goodness. So you can imagine my surprise when I was awakened at daybreak by a funny little voice saying, "Please, draw me a sheep." What?
My goodness, okay. Draw me a sheep. I leaped up as if I had been struck by lightning. I rubbed my eyes hard. I stared. And I saw an extraordinary little fellow staring back at me very seriously. Here is the best portrait I managed to make of him later on. But of course, my drawing is much less attractive than my model. This is not my fault. My career as a painter was discouraged at the age of 6 by grown-ups, and I had never learned to draw anything except boa constrictors outside and inside. So I stared wide-eyed at this apparition. Don't forget that I was thousands of miles away from any inhabited territory. Yet this little fellow seemed to be neither lost, nor dying of exhaustion, hunger, or thirst, nor did he seem scared to death. There was nothing in his appearance that suggested a child lost in the middle of the desert 1,000 miles away from any inhabited territory. When I finally managed to speak, I asked him, "But what are you doing here?" Then he repeated, very slowly and very seriously, "Please, draw me a sheep."
Oh.
In the face of overpowering mystery, you don't dare disobey. Absurd as it seemed, 1,000 miles from all inhabited regions and in danger of death, I took a scrap of paper and a pen out of my pocket. But then I remembered that I had mostly studied geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar, and I told the little fellow, rather crossly, that I didn't know how to draw. He replied, "That doesn't matter. Draw me a sheep." Since I had never drawn a sheep, I made him one of
Pause and chat. Can we post the emoji of a sheep for this apparition? Let's help the pilot. He may need some support. He doesn't know how to draw a sheep. Do you know how to draw a sheep, Skyla?
No, I'm very bad at drawing. I would give it a go, but it would probably look like a dog.
Or like cloud. That's how I would do
Cloud
it.
is true, fuzzy.
Yeah, draw a little cloud and then move forward.
A
Yeah,
little left and a little head. Okay.
put your sheep,
Now
you
I'm
guys.
confident. Now I think I could draw a sheep.
Put your sheep emoji so it can get the pilot inspired. Reading at the final sentence, since I had never drawn a sheep, I made him one of. Oh, here's the best portrait I managed to make of him later on.
This is the Little Prince.
This is the Little Prince, Skyla.
I like this book already. We're only on page 4.
Isn't it wonderful?
It's so captivating. Like, what happens?
So
Okay,
captivating. Oh, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat. Okay, so that's the sheep. What do you think of that sheep, Skyla?
I think that's a perfect sheep.
Is it not? It's very different from the cloud I would draw, because I wouldn't draw the paws nor the tail as a cloud, but it looks adorable.
Yeah,
The
very
on-
cute.
The only 2 drawings I knew how to make, the one of the boa constrictor from outside, and I was astounded to hear the little fellow answer, No, I don't want an elephant inside a boa constrictor. A boa constrictor is very dangerous, and an elephant would get in the way. Where I live, everything is very small. I need a sheep. Draw me a sheep. So then, I made a drawing. He looked at it carefully and then said, No, this one is already quite sick. Make another one. I made another drawing. My friend gave me a kind, indulgent smile. You can see for yourself. That's not a sheep, it's a ram. It has horns. So I made my 3rd drawing, but it was rejected like the others. This one is too old. I want a sheep that will live a long time. So then, impatiently, since I was in a hurry to start work on my engine, I scribbled this drawing and added, This is just the crate. The sheep you want is inside. But I was amazed to see my young critic's face light up. That's just the kind I wanted. Do you think the sheep will need a lot of grass? Why? So cute.
So cute. Because where I live, everything is very small. There's sure to be enough. I've given you a very small sheep. Oh, that's the next person. Okay. He bent over the drawing. No, so small as all that. Look, he's gone to sleep. And that's how I made the acquaintance of the Little Prince. It took me a long time to understand where he came from. The Little Prince, who asked me so many questions, never seemed to hear the ones I asked him. It was things he said quite at random that, bit by bit, explained everything. For instance, when he first caught sight of my airplane, I won't draw my airplane, that would be much too complicated for me. He asked, "What's that thing over there?" "It's not a thing, it flies. It's an airplane. My airplane." And I was proud to tell him I could fly. Then he exclaimed, "What? You fell out of the sky?" "Yes," I said modestly. "Oh, that's funny." And the Little Prince broke into a lovely peal of laughter, which annoyed me a good deal. I like my misfortune to be taken seriously. Then he added, "So you fell out of the sky too. What planet are you from?"
You guys, I cannot express how much of this book is my actual personality. I kid you not. If you know the littlest of me in real life, there's just so much of this silliness that I try to keep alive. You're doing great,
Mm.
Skyla. What are your thoughts of this book so far?
So far, it has just drawn me right in. I love the Little Prince already. He does remind me of you. And excited to read the rest.
Let's go. What planet are you from? That was when I had the first clue to the mystery of his presence, and I questioned him sharply. Do you come from another planet? But he made no answer. He shook his head a little, still staring at my airplane. Of course, that couldn't have brought you from very far. And he fell into a reverie that lasted a long while. Then, taking my sheep out of his pocket, he plunged into contemplation of his treasure. You can imagine how intrigued I was by his hints about other planets. I tried to learn more. Where do you come from, little fellow? Where is this where I live of yours? Where will you be taking my sheep? After a thoughtful silence, he answered, the good thing about the crate you've given me is that he can use it for a house after dark. Of course, and if you're good, I'll give you a rope to tie him up during the day, and a stake to tie him to. This proposition seemed to shock the little prince. Tie him up? What a funny idea. But if you don't tie him up, he'll wander off somewhere and get lost. My friend burst out laughing again. Where could he go? Anywhere, straight ahead. Then the little prince remarked quite seriously, even if he did, everything's so small where I live. And he added, perhaps a little sadly, straight ahead, you can go very far.
That was how I had learned a second very important thing, which was that the planet he came from was hardly bigger than a house. That couldn't surprise me much. I knew very well that except for the huge planets like Earth, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, which have been given names, there are hundreds of others that are sometimes so small that it's very difficult to see them through a telescope. When an astronaut discovers one of them, he gives it a number instead of a name. For instance, he could call it Asteroid 325. I have serious reasons to believe that the planet the little prince came from is asteroid B612. This asteroid has been sighted only by one telescope in 1909 by a Turkish astronomer who had then made a formal demonstration of his discovery at the International Astronomical Congress. But no one had believed him. Is that the word? Yeah. But no one had believed him on the account of the way he was dressed. Grown-ups are like that. Fortunately for the reputation of asteroid B612, a Turkish director ordered his people on pain of death to wear European clothes. The astronomer repeated his
The astronomer repeated his demonstration in 1920, wearing a very elegant suit. And this time, everyone believed him. If I've told you these details about asteroid B612, and if I've given you its number, it's on account of the grown-ups. Grown-ups like numbers. When you tell them about a new friend, they never ask questions about what really matters. They never ask, what does his voice sound like? What games does he like best? Sky? Does he collect butterflies? They ask, how old is he? How many brothers does he have? How much does he weigh? How much money does his father make? Only then do they think they know him. If you tell grown-ups, I saw a beautiful red brick house with geraniums at the window and doves on the roof, they won't be able to imagine such a house. You have to tell them, I saw a house worth 100,000 francs. Then they'll explain. Then they'll exclaim, what a pretty house.
the
And
little
here,
prince.
a photo
B612.
of the asteroid B612.
I love it. So, if you tell them, the proof of the little prince's existence is that he was delightful and that he laughed and that he wanted a sheep. When someone wants a sheep, that proves he exists. They shrug their shoulders and treat you like a child. But if you tell them the planet he came from is asteroid B612, then they'll be convinced and they won't bother you with their questions. That's the way they are. You must not hold it against them. Children should be very understanding of grown-ups. But, of course, those of us who understand life couldn't care less about numbers. I should have liked to begin this story like a fairy tale. I should have liked to say, once upon a time there was a little prince who lived on a planet hardly any bigger than he was, and who needed a friend. For those who understand life, that would sound much truer. The fact is, I don't want my book to be taken lightly. Telling these memories is so painful for me. It's already been 6 years since my friend went away, taking his sheep with him. If I try to describe him here, it's so I won't forget him. It's sad to forget a friend. Not everyone has had a friend, and I might become like the grown-ups who are no longer interested in anything but numbers, which is still another reason why I bought a box of paints and some pencils. It's hard to go back to drawing at my age when you've never had any attempts since the one of a boa inside and the one of a boa from the outside at the age of 6. I'll
Oh,
certainly
I'm
I
starting to
know.
tear up, Skyla. You do not.
I know.
And to do that in public, no less. I'll cer- I'll certainly try to make my portraits as true to life as possible, but I'm not entirely sure of succeeding. One drawing works, and the next no longer bears any resemblance. And I'm a little off of his height too. In this one, the little prince is too tall, and here he's too short, and I'm uncertain about the color of his suit. So I grope in one direction and another, as best as I can. In the end, I'm sure to get certain more important details all wrong. But here you have to forgive me. My friend never explained anything. Perhaps he thought I was like himself, but I, unfortunately, cannot see a sheep through the sides of a crate. I may be a little like the grown-ups. I must have grown old. Ugh, that's sad. Yes, and it happens, but it's sad nonetheless.
Yeah.
Every day, I'd learn something about the little princess planet, about his departure, about his journey. It would come quite gradually in the course of his remarks. This was how I learned on the third day about the drama of the Baobabs. This time too, I had the sheep to thank, for suddenly the little prince asked me a question, as if overcome by a grave doubt. Isn't it true that sheep eat bushes? Yes, that's right. Ah, I'm glad. I didn't understand why it was so important that sheep would eat bushes, but the little prince added, and therefore they eat baobabs too, right?
Hmm. I
Would you eat a
pointed.
baobab?
Is it bad if I say I don't know what a baobab is?
I don't know what a baobab is. I'm not sure it exists, and that's the beauty of it.
Okay, am I am
All
I
right, go
thinking
ahead.
with my grown-up brain? I should know. I guess we'll find out though, hopefully. I pointed out to the little prince that baobabs are not bushes, but trees. Ah, as tall as churches, and that even if he took a whole herd of elephants back to his planet, that herd couldn't finish off a single baobab. The idea of a herd of elephants made the little prince laugh. We'd have a pile of them on top of one another, but he observed prospectively. Before they grow big, baobabs start out by being little. True enough, but why do you want your sheep to eat little baobabs? He answered, oh, come on, you know, as if we were talking about something so obvious. And I was
Right.
forced to make a great mental effort to understand this problem all by myself. And in fact, on the little prince's planet, there were, as on all planets, good plants and bad plants. The good plants come from good seeds and the bad plants from bad seeds, but the seeds are invisible. They sleep in the secrecy of the ground until one of them decides to wake up. Then it stretches and begins to sprout, quite timidly at first, a charming, harmless little twig reaching toward the sun. If it's a radish seed or a rosebush seed, you can let it sprout all it likes. But if it's a seed of a bad plant,
One second.
Tio.
But if a seed of a bad plant, you must pull the plant up right away, as soon as you can recognize it. As it happens, there were terrible seeds on the little planets, on the little princess planet. Baobab seeds. The planet's soil was infested with them. Now, if you attend to a baobab too late, you can never get rid of it again. It overgrows the whole planet. Its roots pierce right through. And if the planet is too small, and if there are too many baobabs, they make it burst into pieces. It's a question of discipline, the little prince told me later on. When you finished washing and dressing each morning, you must tend your planet. You must be sure you pull up the baobabs regularly, as soon as you can tell them apart from the rose bushes, which they closely resemble when they're very young. It's very tedious work, but very easy.
Interesting. I
And the
also
little
want to go.
prince tending to the soil. Yes, go ahead.
Have you ever been in a moment like that where someone says something and they're like, come on, you know? Because this happens to me sometimes. And I'm like, I
Oh,
should
it happens
know.
to me all the time. When they said, Tio, can you make a stream? And I was like, yeah.
And you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
gotta play along.
It's just discipline, you know. You gotta water OBS, and maybe one day it will not fail.
And
All
then
right.
here you are streaming every week. Okay. And one day he advised me to do my best to make a beautiful drawing for the edification of the children where I live. If they travel someday, he told me, it could be useful for them. Sometimes there's no harm in postponing your work until later. But with Baobabs, it's always catastrophe. Always a catastrophe. I knew one planet that was inhabited by a lazy man. He had neglected 3 bushes. So, following the little prince's instructions, I have drawn that planet. I don't much like assuming the tone of a moralist, but the danger of Baobabs is so little recognized, and the risks run by anyone who might get lost on an asteroid are so considerable that for once I am making an exception to my habitual reserve. I say, children, watch out for Baobabs. It's to warn my friends of the dangers of which they, like myself, have long been unaware, that I worked so hard on this drawing. The lesson I'm teaching is worth the trouble. You may be asking, why are there no other drawings in this book as big as the drawing of the Baobabs? There's a simple answer. I tried, but I couldn't imagine it. When I drew the Baobabs, I was inspired by a sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, little prince, gradually this was how I came to understand your sad little life. Mm-hmm. For a long time, your only entertainment was the pleasure of sunsets. I learned this new detail on the morning of the 4th day when you told me.
Look at the Baobabs, Skyla.
Yeah.
What they look like, taking over the little planet. That's wild. I really like sunsets. Let's go look at one now. But we have to wait. What for? For the sun to set. At first, you seemed quite surprised, and then you laughed at yourself, and you said to me, I think I'm still at home. Indeed, and when it's noon in the United States, the sun, as everyone knows, is setting over France. If you could fly to France in 1 minute, you could watch the sunset. Unfortunately, France is much too far. But on your tiny planet, all you had to do was move your chair a few feet, and you would watch the twilight whenever you wanted to. What a blessing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
Watching a
that be
sunset.
a pleasure? At any given point, you just go and see it.
Yeah, there's
I often
nothing.
think I need to take a look at the sunset. It's the little things that we forget to do, but it's so beautiful.
Yes, take a moment, just really take it in, breathe it in.
Yeah.
One day I saw the sunset 44 times. Oh my goodness.
Goodness.
A little later you added. You know, when you're feeling
What?
very sad, sunsets are wonderful. It is so true. It puts the magnificence of the world into perspective. On the day of the 44 times you were feeling very sad, but the little prince didn't answer. That makes me sad. Oh, no tears coming. Okay. On the 5th day, thanks again to the sheep, another secret of the little prince's life was revealed to me. Abruptly, with no preamble, he asked me, as if it were the fruit of a problem long pondered in silence, if a sheep eats bushes, does it eat flowers too? A sheep eats whatever it finds. Even flowers that have thorns? Yes, even flowers that have thorns. Then what good are thorns? I don't know. At that moment, I was very busy trying to unscrew a bolt that was jammed in my engine. I was quite worried, for my plane crash was beginning to seem extremely serious, and the lack of drinking water made me fear the worst. What good are thorns? The little prince never let go of a question once he asked it. I was annoyed by my jammed bolt, and I answered without thinking. Thorns are no good for anything. They're just the flowers' way of being mean. Okay, I'm going to reread that. Thorns are no good for anything. They're just the flowers' way of being mean. Oh, but after a silence, he laughed out at me with,
He lashed. He lashed out at me.
lashed. Okay, good
With a
correction.
sort of bitterness. I don't believe you. Flowers are weak. They are naive. They reassure themselves whatever way they can. They believe their thorns make them frightening. I made no answer. At the moment, I was thinking, if this boat stays jammed, I will knock it off with the hammer. Again, the little prince disturbed my reflections. Then you think flowers? No, not at all. I don't think anything. I just said whatever came to mind. I'm busy here with something serious. He stared at me astounded. Something serious? I love how the music just played along with the book. Something serious? He saw me holding my hammer, my fingers black with grease, bending over an object he regarded as very ugly. You talk like the grown ups. That made me a little ashamed. But he added mercilessly, you confuse everything. You've got it all mixed up. He was really very annoyed. He tossed his golden curls in the wind. I know a planet inhabited by a red faced gentleman. He's never smelled a flower. He's never looked at a star. He's never loved anyone. He's never done anything except add numbers. And all day long, he says over and over, just like you, I'm a serious man. I'm a serious man. And that puffs him up with pride. But he's not a man at all. He's a mushroom. He's a what? A mushroom. The little prince was now quite pale with rage. For millions of years, flowers have been.
For millions of years, flowers have been producing thorns. For millions of years, sheep have been eating them all the same. And it's not serious trying to understand why flowers go to such trouble to produce thorns that are good for nothing. It's not important. The war between the sheep and the flowers. It's more serious and more important than the numbers that fat red gentleman is adding up. Suppose I happen to know a unique flower, one that exists somewhere in the world except on my planet. One that a little sheep can wipe out in a single bite one morning, just like that, without even realizing what he's doing. That isn't important? His face turned red now, and he went on. If someone loves a flower, of which just one example exists among all the millions of stars, that's enough to make him happy when he looks at the stars. He tells himself, my flower's up there somewhere. But if the sheep eats the flower, then for him, it's as if suddenly all the stars went out. And that isn't important? He couldn't say another word. All of a sudden, he burst out sobbing. Night had fallen. I dropped my tools. What did I care about my hammer, about my bolt, about my thirst and death? There was, on one star, on one planet, on mine, the Earth, a little prince to be consoled. I took him in my arms, I rocked him, I told him, the flower you love is not in danger. I'll draw you a muzzle for your sheep. I'll draw you a fence for your flower. I didn't know what to say. How clumsy I felt. I didn't know how to reach him, where to find him. It's so mysterious, the land of tears. That's so sad.
I know, but at least, the little prince had somebody to soothe him, right?
Yeah.
That's something that we all need. And take a good look, Skyla, because that's the first time we see the flower, the infamous flower of the little prince. That's beautiful. I soon learned to know that flower better. On the little prince's planet, there had always been very simple flowers, decorated with a single row of petals, so that they took up no room at all and got in no one's way. They would appear one morning in the grass and would fade by nightfall. But this one had grown from a seed brought from who knows where, and the little prince had kept a close watch over a sprout that was not like any other. It might have been a new kind of baobab, but the sprout soon stopped growing and began to show signs of blossoming. The little prince, who had watched the development of an enormous bud, realized that some sort of miraculous apparition would emerge from it. But the flower continued her beauty preparations in the shelter of her green chamber, selecting her colors with the greatest care and dressing quite deliberately, adjusting her petals one by one. She had no desire to emerge all rumpled like the poppies. She wished to appear only in the full radiance of her beauty. Oh, yeah, she was quite vain, and her mysterious adornment had lasted days and days. And then, one morning, precisely at sunrise, she showed herself. And after having labored so painstakingly, she yawned and said, "Ah, I'm hardly awake. Forgive me. I'm still all untidy."
But the little prince couldn't contain his admiration. How lovely you are! Aren't I? The flower answered sweetly. And I was born the same time as the sun. The little prince realized that she wasn't any too modest, but she was so dazzling. I believe it is breakfast time, she said. She had soon added, "Would you be so kind as to tend to me?" And the little prince, utterly abashed, having gone to look for a watering can, served the flower. She had soon begun tormenting him with her rather touchy vanity. One day, for instance, alluding to her 4 thorns, she remarked to the little prince, "I'm ready for tigers, with all their claws." "There are no tigers on my planet," the little prince had objected, "and besides, tigers don't eat weeds." "I'm not a weed," the flower sweetly replied. "Forgive me. I am not at all afraid of tigers, but I have a horror of drafts. You wouldn't happen to have a screen? A horror of drafts? That's not a good sign for a plant." The little prince had observed. How complicated this flower is.
Look at the tiger. So cute.
So cute. I also love this flower's personality.
It's very Skyla. You got into the character. I am not at all a weed, okay?
Always a little chilly, please. Scared of draft.
After dark, you will put me under glass. How cold it's where you live. Quite uncomfortable. Where I come from. But she suddenly broke off. She had come here as a seed. She couldn't have known anything of other worlds. Humiliated at having let herself be caught on the verge of so naive a lie, she coughed 2 or 3 times in order to put the little prince in the wrong. "That screen? I was going to look for one, but you were speaking to me." Then she made herself cough again, in order to inflict a twinge of remorse on him all the same. So the little prince, despite all of the goodwill of his love, had soon come to mistrust her. He had taken seriously certain inconsequential remarks and had grown very unhappy. "I shouldn't have listened to her," he confided to me one day. "You must never listen to flowers. You must look at them and smell them. Mine perfumed my planet, but I didn't know how to enjoy that. The business about the tiger claws, instead of annoying me, ought to have moved me." And he confided further, "In those days, I didn't understand anything. I should have judged her according to her actions, not her words. She perfumed my planet and lit up my life. I should never have run away."
I ought to have realized the tenderness underlying her silly pretensions. Flowers are so contradictory, but I was too young to know how to love her. In order to make his escape, I believe he took advantage of a migration of wild birds. On the morning of his departure, he put his planet in order. He carefully raked out his active volcanoes. The little prince possessed 2 active volcanoes, which were very convenient for warming his breakfast. He also possessed 1 extinct volcano, but, as he said, you never know. So he raked out the extinct volcano too. If they are properly raked out, volcanoes burn gently and regularly, without eruptions. Volcanic eruptions are like fires in a chimney. Of course, on Earth, we are much too small to rake our own volcanoes. That is why they cause so much trouble. The little prince also uprooted, a little sadly, the last baobab shoots. He believed he would never be coming back. But all these familiar tasks seemed very sweet to him on the last morning. And when he watered the flower one last time, he put her under glass. He felt like crying. "Goodbye," he said to the flower. But she did not answer him. "Goodbye," he repeated. The flower coughed, but not because she was cold. Why is he leaving?
He carefully raked out his active volcanoes.
Such a tiny planet.
I know. I've been silly, she told him at last. I ask your forgiveness. Try to be happy. He was surprised that there were no reproaches. He stood there, quite bewildered, holding the glass bell in midair. He failed to understand this calm sweetness. Of course I love you, the flower told him. It was my fault you never knew. It doesn't matter. But you were just as silly as I was. Try to be happy. Put the glass thing down. I don't want it anymore. But the wind, my coat isn't that bad. The night air will do me good. I'm a flower. But the animals, I need to put up with 2 or 3 caterpillars if I want to get to know the butterflies. Apparently, they're very beautiful. Otherwise, who will visit me? You'll be far away. As for the big animals, I'm not afraid of them. I have my own claws. And she naively showed her 4 thorns. Then she added, don't hang around like this. It's irritating. You made up your mind to leave. Now go. For she didn't want him to see her crying. She was such a proud flower. He happened to be in the vicinity of asteroids 325, 326, 327, 328, 329, and 330. So he began by visiting them, to keep himself busy and to learn something.
The first one was inhabited by a king, wearing purple and ermine. Is that how you say that? He was sitting on a simple yet majestic throne. Ah, here's a subject, the king exclaimed when he caught sight of the little prince. And the little prince wondered, how can he know who I am if he's never seen me before? He didn't realize that for kings, the world is extremely simplified. All men are subjects.
Approach the throne so I can get a better look at you, said the king, very proud of being a king for someone at last. The little prince looked around for a place to sit down, but the planet was covered by the magnificent ermine cloak. So he remained standing, and since he was tired, he yawned. It's a violation of etiquette to yawn in king's presence, the monarch told him. I forbid you to do so. I can't help it, answered the little prince, quite embarrassed. I've made a long journey. I haven't had any sleep. Then I command you to yawn, said the king. I haven't seen anyone yawn for years. For me, yawns are curiosity. Come on, yawn again. It's an order. That intimidates me. I can't do it now, said the little prince, blushing deeply. Well, well, the king replied. Then I command you to yawn sometimes and sometimes too. He was spluttering a little and seemed annoyed. For the king insisted that his authority be universally respected. He would tolerate no disobedience, being an absolute monarch. But since he was a kindly man, all his commands were reasonable. If I were to command, he would often say, if I were to command a general to turn into a seagull, and if the general did not obey, that would not be the general's fault, that would be mine. May I sit down? The little prince timidly inquired. I command you to sit down, the king replied, majestically gathering up a fold of his ermine robe.
But the little prince was wondering. The planet was tiny. Over what could this king really reign? Sire, he ventured, excuse me for asking. I command you to ask, the king hastened to say. Sire, over what do you reign? Over everything, the king answered, with great simplicity. Over everything? With a discreet gesture, the king pointed to his planet, to the other planets, and to the stars. Over all that? Asked the little prince. Over all that, the king answered. For not only was he an absolute monarch, but a universal monarch as well. And do the stars obey you? Of course, the king replied. They obey immediately. I tolerate no insubordination. Such power amazed the little prince. If he had wailed it himself, he could have watched not 44, but 72, or even 100, or even 200 sunsets on the same day without ever having to move his chair. And since he was feeling rather sad on account of remembering his own little planet, which he had forsaken, he ventured to ask a favor of the king. I'd like to see a sunset. Do me a favor, Your Majesty. Command the sun to set. If I commanded a general to fly from one flower to the next like a butterfly, or to write a tragedy, or to turn into a seagull, and if the general did not carry out...
Oops.
End of page.
Not carry out my command. Which of us would be in the wrong, the general or me? You would be, said the little prince quite firmly. Exactly. One must command from each what each can perform. The king went on. Authority is based first of all upon reason. If you command your subjects to jump in the ocean, there will be a revolution. I am entitled to command obedience because my orders are reasonable. Then my sunset? Insisted the little prince, who never let go of a question once he had asked it. You shall have your sunset. I shall command it. But I shall wait, according to my science of government, until conditions are favorable. And when will that be? Inquired the little prince. Well, well, replied the king, first consulting a large calendar. Well, that will be that will be tonight, around 7:40, and you'll see how well I am obeyed. The little prince yawned. He was regretting his lost sunset. And besides, he was already growing a little bored. I have nothing further to do here, he told the king. I'm going to be on my way. Do not leave, answered the king, who was so proud of having a subject. Do not leave. I shall make you my minister. A minister of what? Of justice. But there's no one here to judge.
You never know, the king told him. I have not yet explored the whole of my realm. I am very old. I have no room for a carriage, and it wearies me to walk. Oh, but I've already seen for myself, said the little prince, leaning forward to glance one more time at the other side of the planet. There's no one over there either. Then you shall pass judgment on yourself, the king answered. That is the hardest thing of all. It is much harder to judge yourself than to judge others. If you succeed in judging yourself, it's because you are truly a wise man. But I can judge myself anywhere, said the little prince. I don't need to live here. Well, the king said. I have good reason to believe that there is an old rat living somewhere on my planet. I hear him at night. You could judge that old rat. From time to time, you will condemn him to death. That way, his life will depend on your justice, but you'll pardon him each time. Thank God, for economy's sake. There's only one rat. I don't like condemning anyone to death, the little prince said, and now I think I'll be on my way. No, said the king. The little prince, having completed his preparations, had no desire to aggrieve the old monarch. If your Majesty desires to be promptly obeyed, he should give me a reasonable command. He might command me, for instance, to leave before this minute is up. It seems like that conditions are favorable.
The king, having made no answer, the little prince hesitated at first, and then, with a sigh, took his leave. I make you my ambassador, the king hastily shouted after him. He had a great air of authority. Grown-ups are so strange, the little prince said to himself as he went on his way. The second planet was inhabited by a very vain man. Ha! A visit from an admirer, he explained, when he caught sight of the little prince, still at some distance. To vain men, other people are admirers. Hello, said the little prince. That's a funny hat you're wearing. It's for answering acclamations, the very vain man replied. Unfortunately, no one ever comes this way. Is that so? Said the little prince, who did not understand what the vain man was talking about. Clap your hands, directed the man. The little prince clapped his hands, and the vain man tipped his hat in a modest acknowledgement. This is more entertaining than the visit to the king, the little prince said. What a vain little man.
I like the illustration too. It is a funny.
Yeah.
Said to himself, and he continued clapping. The very vain man continued tipping his hat in acknowledgement. After 5 minutes of this exercise, the little prince tired of the game's monotony. Tired of the game's. I can't say this word. Monotony. There we go.
Yeah.
And what would make that hat fall off, he asked. But the vain man did not hear him. Vain men never hear anything but praise. Do you really admire me a great deal? He asked the little prince. What do you mean, admire? To admire means to acknowledge that I am the handsomest, the best dressed, the richest, the most intelligent man on the planet.
Wow.
But
he's my version of a human, as I am a crab. Yeah, the most handsome crab in sky, you guys.
That's true, Tio.
Thank you. I tip my hat to you, Skyla.
This is the best comeback from the little prince, too. But you're the only man on this planet. Do me this favor, admire me all the same. I admire you, said the little prince, with a little shrug of his shoulders. But what is there about my admiration that interests you so much? And the little prince went on his way. Grown-ups are certainly very strange, he said to himself as he continued his journey. The next planet was inhabited by a drunkard. The visit was a very brief one, but it plunged the little prince into a deep depression. What are you doing there? He asked the drunkard, whom he found sunk in silence before a collection of empty bottles and a collection of full ones.
Drinking. What an answer. Well, answers itself. Drinking, replied the drunkard, with a gloomy expression. Why are you drinking? The little prince asked. To forget, replied the drunkard. To forget what? Inquired the little prince, who was already feeling sorry for him. To forget that I'm ashamed, confessed the drunkard, hanging his head. What are you ashamed of? Inquired the little prince, who wanted to help. Of drinking, concluded the drunkard, withdrawing into silence for good. And the little prince went on his way, puzzled.
Grown-ups are certainly very, very strange, he said to himself as he continued his journey. I'm just looking. Should we keep going, Tia, or should we?
Well, I think we can go up to the next page and then we can break.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Go through the next.
Hey,
plan.
guys, we are at the top of the hour, by the way, chat. If you guys so inclined, we can keep up to part 2 in the stream within the next couple of weeks. How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel about that, Skyla? Would you be down to do this and finish the book within the next couple of weeks?
Yes, I'm gonna have to be, practice some self-control to not finish it on my own.
Please do not. No, that's the only demand from the king. It's not. It's for you not to finish it.
It seems reasonable enough.
You have to finish with us all together here. But we shall have part 2. But we're gonna finish this page and the next page, and then we will move forward. But thank you everybody for being here. Skyla, take us along.
Yes. The 4th planet belonged to a businessman. This person was so busy that he didn't even raise his head when the little prince arrived. Hello, said the little prince. Your cigarette's gone out. 3 and 2 make 5. 5 and 7, 12. 12 and 3, 15. Hello, 15 and 7, 22. 22 and 6, 28. No time to light it again. 26 and 5, 31. Phew. That amounts to 501,622,731. 500 million what? You're still there? 501 million. I don't remember. I have too much work to do. I'm a serious man. I can't be bothered with trifles. 2 and 5, 7. 501 million what? Repeated the prince, who had never in his life let go of a question once he asked it. The businessman raised his head. For the 54 years I have inhabited this planet, I have been interrupted only 3 times. The first time was 22 years ago, when I was interrupted by a beetle that had fallen onto my desk from God knows where. It made a terrible
noise, and I made 4 mistakes in my calculations. The second time was 11 years ago, when I was interrupted by a fit of rheumatism. I don't get enough exercise. I haven't time to take strolls. I'm a serious person. The third time is right now. Where was I? 501 million. Million what? The businessman realized that he had no hope of being left in peace. Oh, of those little things you sometimes see in the sky. Flies? No, those little shiny things. Bees? Let's finish the businessman. Come on, let's finish the businessman.
Okay, I mean, we gotta know. No, those little golden things that make lazy people daydream. Now, I'm a serious person. I have no time for daydreaming. Ah, you mean the stars? Yes, that's it. Stars. And what do you do with 500 million stars? 501,622,731. I'm a serious person and I'm accurate. And what do you do with those stars? What do I do with them? Yes, nothing. I own them. You own the stars? Yes, but I've already seen a king who kings don't own, they reign over. It's quite different. And what good does owning a star do for you? It does me the good of being rich. And what good does it do you to be rich? It lets me buy other stars. If somebody discovers them, the little prince said to himself, "This man argues a little like my drunkard." Nevertheless, he asked more questions. "How can someone own the stars? To whom do they belong?" retorted the businessman grumpily. "I don't know. To nobody?"
Then they belong to me because I thought of it first. And that's all it takes? Of course, when you find a diamond that belongs to nobody in particular, then it's yours. When you find an island that belongs to nobody in particular, it's yours. When you're the first person to have an idea, you patent it and it's yours. Now I own the stars since no one before me ever thought of owning them. That's true enough, the little prince said. And what do you do with them? I manage them. I, I count them and then I count them again, the businessman said. It's difficult work, but I'm a serious person. The little prince was still not satisfied. If I own a scarf, I can tie it around my neck and take it away. If I own a flower, I can pick it and take it away. But you can pick the stars. No, but I can put them in the bank. What does that mean? That means that I write the number of my stars on a slip of paper, and then I lock that slip of paper in a drawer. And that's all? That's enough. That's amusing, thought the little prince, and even poetic, but not very serious. The little prince had very different ideas about serious things from those of the grown-ups. I own a flower myself, he continued, which I water every day. I own 3 volcanoes, which I... Almost done, Skyla, almost done, I think.
Which I rake out every week. I even rake out the extinct one. You never know. So it's of some use to my volcanoes, and it's useful to my flower that I own them. But you're not useful to the stars. The businessman opened his mouth, but found nothing to reply. Nothing to say in reply, and the little prince went on his way. Grown-ups are certainly quite extraordinary, was all he said to himself as he continued his journey.
And pause, you guys. We are pausing here. We're gonna have a regular stream next week, but we will come back to The Little Prince Part 2 in a couple of weeks. That's a promise I make to you. Just give a second, and Skyla and I will prepare our goodbyes.
Yay!
All right, Skyla. So, what are your thoughts of The Little Prince so far?
I love it so far. I understand why it's such a timeless tale. I really like how it kind of like references things throughout the book, like it repeats little things. And I'm liking getting to know the people who inhabit the other planets. So excited for the rest of it.
It's exciting. It's exciting. And if you had to say something, and that's a question for everybody. So TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube, I would very much like to hear your thoughts. So far, up to the businessman, have you learned any lesson from The Little Prince?
Are you asking me or chat?
I'm asking you too. Chat as well. Chat is gonna type, but in the meanwhile, Skyla, please.
Yes. Well, I guess the last one we read is the one that's on my mind the most, but that sometimes we make things out of nothing, like this businessman making that he owns the stars, but you can't own the stars, which I take as not to take life so seriously sometimes, perhaps.
Fair.
Not make mountains out of molehills.
Yes. What I take from this is that grown-ups are extraordinary people, very curious, and sometimes I wonder what happened to us, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to keep a childlike soul, as the Queen Aurora would sing. I would rather see the world through the eyes of a child, because it's simpler. It's simpler living, and when it's simpler, it's easier to be happy. You see, all of
Hmm.
these people, all these grown-ups in these planets, even the pilot, uh, they have so much to do that it's difficult to be happy. And all the little prince wants is to make friends with a flower, with the sheep, uh, with whoever pays him attention. And I think that's what a lot of the Sky Kids try to do in the game, is just, you know, be like a child and be able to connect with the little things. That's the beautiful thing. Uh, Elena CC on TikTok says, Tio and Skyla, you guys did amazing. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Spooky Cat, adults are surely strange. Yep. Grown-ups are too serious. Yep, Gom, I agree with that. Birkin, maybe being more childish is better than an adult in many ways, like enjoy just life. Yep, that's true. Some mentions
And
from
an
TikTok.
important one, Tio, on YouTube. Take care of your extinct volcanoes. You never know. Sassy.
Hey, that's a really
You
good
never
lesson to
know.
learn. You never know. Why do we wear a scarf, Skyla? Because you never know when a scarf is
Never.
gonna come handy. I had this beautiful moment with Skyla one time that we hung out, you guys, and she was wearing a scarf, and I'm like, Skyla, it's 30 degrees. Why are you wearing that? And she goes, you never know. It's never a bad time to have a scarf.
It was a light scarf, but you never know.
You never know. You never know.
I run cold, okay? I'm like the flower in the story.
So maybe you need a jar over yourself. Next time I'll bring a giant jar and I'm gonna put it over your head.
Yeah,
Uh,
be funny.
Electroton reignites your inner child. What a beautiful lesson too. Okay, guys.
Mhm.
Uh, Regular stream next week. In fact, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a spoiler. It's going to be a stream to die for. Ha ha ha. With Emily Way, one of our artists, and you guys get to pick colors in which we're gonna be coloring some beautiful imagery. So come hang out. You guys are. It's gonna be definitely more interactive. And the week after that, Skyla and I are back with no shenanigans. Skyla, let's jump into it so we can finish the book
Yeah.
and go to the point. Skyla, thank you so much. You're a sweetheart. You know that I love you dearly. Anything that you would like to say to the chat before we go?
Just thanks for having me back and for, listening to the story with us, and we'll see you again next time.
Awesome. All right, Skyla, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you in just a second, okay?
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
All right, Sky Kids. I hope you guys had a good time. Yes, right, Lou? Thanks to Skyla. Your voice is so soothing. It really is. That's why I love having Skyla for reading time. We never had part 2 of reading time, so this will be it, you guys. And together, we will get to the end of The Little Prince. Again, I can guarantee that this video is going to be up for the next 48 hours. So if you guys want to share with people who haven't read the book and would like to participate with us, they can watch the VOD. Other than that, I love you guys, and it's time to say goodbye and time to call some of you guys out. So, Gom I on TikTok, thank you for being here. Elisa, The Valley Trip, and Opal, thank you so much for being here. Let's see some folks. Miss Nurin on Twitch, thank you so much, Miss Nurin, for hanging out with us. Little Prince Lover, wow, thank you for joining. Zax the Hedgehog, William Gabe, and you who have been hanging out with us. You are much appreciated, and remember, you are loved, and your life is precious. My name is Tio, and thank you so much for coming to hang out and learn a little bit about the Little Prince. I hope you guys had a good time, and I will see you guys next week for sure. Or if you come to Discord, it's a good opportunity to hang out there too. Yeah, see you guys next week. Bye bye.